Welcome to your Aged Care Compass podcast. Join us to find out how to support your older loved ones at home. We're going to help you make sense of Australia's aged care system. We talk about legal and financial considerations for ageing and how chronic health conditions impact your older loved ones' well-being. And we share real-life stories of where it went wrong for people and how we got them back on track.
Welcome everyone. It's great to have you here with us today. I'm Coral Wilkinson, your host, and today I'm joined by Kathryn Ewen of Dovida, formerly Home Instead. Kathryn's role at Dovida is a networker. Having a background in customer service and home care coordination, she's passionate about helping people and is committed to providing honest, reliable advice to help seniors and their families understand their home care options and navigate the complexities of my aged care. Kathryn, in 2005, Home Instead launched in Australia, opening the first office in Brisbane. Since that time, the company has expanded across Australia and currently has 40 offices in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, and Western Australia. A few weeks ago, Home Instead became Dovida and launched a new website, logo, and colour scheme. Your role at Dovida involves community engagement. What do you do?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Coral. I'm excited to join you today. Yes, it's certainly been an exciting few weeks for our team across Australia, as you mentioned, as we've launched Dovida. So the new name is inspired by two Latin words, domus, meaning home, and vida, meaning life. And we empower people to live their life their way at home. So it's been really exciting, and I'm personally thrilled with the new colours. I love the new coral colours. Oh, coral!
I love the coral colours too.
I just literally realised that. In my role, my networking role, I'm mainly out in our community talking, which I love. I might be perhaps meeting with GPs and their teams and other allied health professionals. So it might be physiotherapists or podiatrists and people who support our seniors, really just letting them know about our services here at Dovida. I could be perhaps running community presentations, which I love to do. Sometimes I'm invited to go and talk to social groups or in retirement villages. Sometimes I'll even take along a morning tea. So I even do a bit of catering, which is fun. My favourite part of my role is helping people like you. And I do genuinely get a great deal of satisfaction from helping people understand what help is available and how to get the best results from this very complex system.
Absolutely. It is so complex. And thank goodness there are people like you, Kathryn, out there doing this, because this is what we find as well is the system is so complex and the jargon changes and programs change and no one really knows or understands that, and particularly GPs. And I've seen all your posts that come across social media. You're a very busy woman, so thank you for being out there and educating the wider community about how the aged care system works.
Thank you. I don't even think there's anybody that knows everything. Every day's a school day, but it's lovely to get out there, hear real life stories, see real life successes as well,
Yes.
and be there just to guide people. It's a real privilege.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So Dovida supports people who have home care packages, and you also provide support privately for people who don't have a home care package. Could you talk us through the kinds of clients you support privately? Are these people who are waiting for their home care package to be assigned? Or are they people who have the financial means and think, you know what, I can't be bothered with the aged care system, I'll just fund this myself?
Do you know what? Both and more. We can provide services immediately for people waiting for government funding. So we do look after people that may have gone through the assessment process, and as we have talked before. We've got a lot of people out there that have been waiting far too long for their funding to come through. So yes, and I think it's fair to say we've seen an increase in people that have taken up private services while they're waiting. And then obviously we've got people that have home care package funding in place, and we can put services in based on that. We might have a combination of both. Maybe we've got people whose care needs exceed the government funding. Maybe they want to tap into our social support group activities, and that puts them beyond the funding that the government are providing, and so they might top up privately. We can also, which was something I learned when I joined the team here, we can provide private services to people that are living in a residential situation. And that's really important for people that might be living with dementia. Maybe they've made a move from home to a residential facility, and they can keep that continuity of care. They can keep the same faces around them as they transition. Or maybe we're just putting care in place for people in residential facilities to keep them connected to the community. So if there's something that they enjoy doing, they can still continue to get support to do that on that private basis. So everybody's individual, everybody's got different needs, but I love that we're able to be flexible and support people however they need that support.
That's fantastic, Kathryn. Yeah. So when a person contacts Dovida to discuss possibly signing with you as their chosen provider, what kind of questions do they ask?
Oh, good question, Coral. I discussed this with my team as well, and some of the things that we put together were, we have people, or we encourage people, I always encourage people, perhaps I'm out doing a community presentation, and I will always encourage people to shop around providers and ask lots of questions. So common questions either that people are asking or that we're encouraging them to ask are, how do we train our caregivers? So the caregivers are the people that are going out into the community, into your home, delivering those services. So how are they trained? What level of training do they receive? Do the provider employ their own staff, or do they use agency staff? That would be important for me to know if this was for my parents or for me. Dovida, we use our own team of caregivers that complete our own comprehensive training program. And they do that before they deliver any services, so we know they're highly trained. Another question to ask, will I see the same caregiver each service? Nothing disappoints me more when I'm out in the community than somebody coming up and saying, I see a different face every service. So that's something that none of us want to see. We want continuity of care. We want to deliver the same small team that are providing the service for your loved one. And that's really important because often that person with that close relationship builds up a good picture of how that client is health-wise, and they can often pick up if there's a problem way before the GP might. So it's really important for lots of different reasons. Another question, are you available 24/7? Do we have phone support 24/7? So when our phones at Dovida click through over at 5 o'clock, one of our local team is on call to answer any emergency questions or respond to any emergencies. So that's something, again, that would be important for me. I would want to know, would I have a dedicated care manager, and how can I access them? Do I know that I've got their phone number, and are they easy to get hold of? You want to make sure that you have a care manager that you can reach when you need them to, and you're not on hold or fobbed off. So that's really important. Perhaps would we be able to assist with organising any equipment and allied health services? Some people have been waiting months for this funding to come through to access these things. So is there going to be somebody there that can help coordinate that? And crucially, when can services start? Because you don't want to wait months and then again be told, oh, you've got to wait 2 weeks before you can get this service. So how soon can services start? What capacity might be a word that you could use there?
They're very similar questions to what we encourage people to ask as well. And in fact, I don't know if you know this, Kathryn, but my mum had Home Instead, now Dovida, caregivers within her level 4 home care package, and they were incredible. We were saying being able to contact the care manager 24/7 or after hours. Absolutely right. We had that phone number there, and we could call on weekends if we needed to cancel a shift. and the team here arranged the same caregivers for my mum based on her need, and they were her regular. Every week they were rostered unless one of them had to go on leave for 3
Yeah.
weeks over Christmas, and we were devastated. She was amazing, but the local office here introduced the replacement caregiver in the week ahead so that my mum knew that she would be coming the following week. And they were absolutely amazing. Like, just can't fault the quality of care and the continuity that my mum received from her caregivers. Yeah. So I know you're not making that up. I know that's absolutely true. Yeah.
That's so lovely to hear. And it's always so tricky because everybody, if you find that person that you get on really well with, that's the person that you want. And it is really difficult, isn't it, when they need to go on holiday?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
The other thing with the continuity, and we always say this to people, it makes a big difference. You want to know who's coming into your house day by day, week by week, is that we had great communication with the caregivers, and they would leave notes and we would leave notes for them. And if they saw something that day, because my sister and I used to go around there every other day, we would just pick up the conversation and see what was going on. And they even started writing shopping lists so that my other sister knew what to get. Like, it was just fantastic.
Yeah.
It was, this sounds a bit corny maybe, but it was kind of like just an extension of our family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, and well done, team, as well, not letting me down there.
Yeah. So look, I guess going on from that, and this is the thing, it's the questions that people don't ask. And I guess we've probably touched on some of that just in the questions that they do ask or should ask. But are there any other questions, and I know there are, that they should be asking at this point when they're considering signing up with a provider?
Or it's tricky to answer because obviously everybody is so individual. I don't think there's no bad question. So just talk to your providers and like you say, it's all founded in good communication. Something when I was thinking about this was, are we not getting some questions because people aren't even in front of us to ask? And what I mean by that is regards to eligibility. And I wonder sometimes if there's anybody out there that isn't even at the point of asking questions this far ahead because then they haven't put themselves in the system because they don't think that they're eligible to be so.
Correct.
And in that case, we've got people, perhaps they still, or they've moved back to live with family, and they might think, oh, well, because I live with my daughter, I am not eligible. And that's not true. It might be, we might be talking to privately funded retirees who think, oh, well, I'm privately funded, so I'm not eligible to access government funding. And that's not true. Maybe somebody's volunteering in the community and they might think that that rules them out from being eligible. And that's not true. They are maybe. And I know I've met somebody that believes that they were told because they were still driving, they're not eligible. And that's not true.
Guess what? My mum was told that. My mum was told when she was, anyway, perhaps we won't get into that today, but actually my mum was told that because she was driving, she was not eligible. And when that was sorted, she was then approved for a level 2 home care package.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And so what worries me is that, do you know what I mean? I'm trying to sort of preempt. So these are perhaps a group of people that aren't asking questions because they're ruling themselves out from even finding any more out because they believe they're not eligible when actually they are. So please, everybody listening, if you have a need, remember this system is needs-based. And it's not based on anything other than that. So it could be that, yes, you're still driving, but you're actually really struggling to bend down to load your washing machine, or you can't reach up to peg your washing out, or you're struggling and it's a risk for you to be mowing your lawn. Definitely go ahead and ask the question of my aged care and get into that system to be assessed. And then you can start thinking about those questions that we talked about before.
Yeah, when we have these conversations with people, there aren't many people who aren't eligible. There really aren't. Like, you only have to scratch the surface, and people who are paying the local neighbourhood the neighbour's teenage son or daughter to mow their yard, that's actually a need because
Yeah.
they can't do that themselves. So that will make them eligible. Sometimes I think people are thinking I don't know, like they need really high needs or complex needs, but they don't. So you've raised an important point to clarify with people that those that don't think they're eligible, they probably are. And what they're doing day to day, and their family cooking the meals, or the families coming and cleaning the house on the weekend, they're all unmet needs, and identify that they're eligible in the aged care system.
Yeah. I think I've met with people in the community who don't want to mention that if they ring my aged care and they say, oh no, I'm managing because my daughter cooks my
That's
meals and my
right.
son mows my lawn. I'm like, no, you absolutely must mention that because it's tangible evidence that you have a need there.
That's right.
And you need to think about what would happen where would you be if you didn't have that support, because that's what makes you eligible
That's
for
right.
the assessment. So yeah.
That initial interaction with a potential provider is important and can indicate how responsive the provider is to an individual's queries. People often ask us how to choose a provider for their home care package. Kathryn, what do you think makes a good provider?
Oh, great question. I think definitely being responsive and providing good communication at all stages of the process. So, right from that very first phone call that you make to a provider starts to build an impression on what kind of service provider they may be. And that feeds right through to ongoing care management. Dovida take a lot of care to match caregivers and clients. So we consider ourselves to be relationship based rather than task based. And so when a client signs with us, we ask them what's important to them. So it could be as simple as that they want someone who likes dogs, or they want to sit in the window and be able to see the roses. We want our clients to really enjoy the companionship of the people who go into their homes and support them. Good providers also invest in their staff, in their caregivers, with ongoing training and support so that they feel confident and well looked after. And so then they're able to deliver that high quality of care and stay up to date with industry changes.
Fantastic. I love that. So the person is thinking about signing with Dovida. They really like what they hear. They want to choose you as their preferred provider. What happens next?
Well, it depends where they are in the process. So let's say that they have spoken to our inquiry team. So if a person is considering their options with regards to providers, obviously give us a call. Your call will be answered by one of our inquiry team. And then depending on that conversation, and these girls really know what they're talking about. So you can chat about what your requirements are, perhaps where you are in the system. Have you been assessed? Are you looking at private services? Whatever your unique situation is. And then, if you would like to, the inquiry team can organise for an in home care consultation with one of our care advisors, and they'll come out and go more in depth with what your needs are. And it might be that you sign up at that meeting and you decide, yep, Dovida's the right provider for us, and we're ready to sign up and put services in place. Or it might be that you want to wait a little bit and have a think. And then when you're ready to sign up, we'll come back out. So at sign up, we go through all of the paperwork. Of course, there's lots of paperwork. There's always lots of paperwork. So allow lots of time. And we look at important consent forms. We go through service agreements. We go in depth into an example budget so that you can see funding coming in and cost of services, or if you're not using government funding, you can look at cost of services. And we go through, really importantly, a comprehensive care plan. So we sit with each client and ask them, how do you want your services delivered? So, for example, with personal care, and what your goals might be. So it could be that the client's independent to get into and out of the shower, but they might struggle to wash and dry their feet. And it could be that they need just support with just that little bit. And going forward, maybe that client has a goal, maybe with some physiotherapy, to be independent with that stage. So again, identifying that. So how can we help them get that independence back? How we can support them. So it's important to know that our caregivers will work with a client and not for the client when we're putting these together. So once we've gone through all the paperwork is all the paperwork's completed, it goes back to the office. And then our scheduling team work to match that client with a caregiver. So somebody that we hope that they're going to get on with and build that trusted relationship that they'll enjoy spending time together. And then the services will be scheduled in. Our clients will be allocated a care manager. And what I really like is that on the first service, the care manager will go out alongside the caregiver so that everybody knows, everybody's they've been introduced. They'll go through that care plan at that point as well. And it's very likely that you always do think a thing afterwards. So it might be that that care plan needs adjusting, or perhaps any needs might have changed. So we get that care plan as good as it can be, and then services will commence from that point. We look at obviously organising for any ongoing allied health service, so maybe put podiatry in place, or maybe that physiotherapy that client needs, and look at putting, if there's any purchases needed, we make a plan for that too. So yeah, I don't know whether I just digressed on the question there.
No, it's great to get that level of detail, because I'm not sure people are aware of how it all happens kind of in the back end. After a person signs with a provider, say Dovida in this instance, Kathryn, how soon after signing the agreement must the person's care plan be developed?
Currently, providers have to provide a care plan within 14 days of a person signing up for services. But realistically, though, say if we signed somebody on a Monday and they needed services to start on a Wednesday, we'd be working to that deadline. And just to clarify, so your care plan is what sets out your goals. So it's a written plan so that everybody involved in your care knows exactly how you want your care delivered. It provides background and outlines the support you currently received, and a new expectation of what will be provided by your caregiver. It'll include information about your health, needs, and, as I say, your preferences, importantly.
So that's great to hear, Kathryn. The provider does have up to 14 days to develop the care plan, but if your clients are needing those services sooner, you're getting in there straight away from the moment they've signed, developing the care plan so that you can start those services as soon as possible. So just taking a look at the care plan still, who can have input into the care plan?
Okay, well, first of all, I would just love to take the opportunity to explain the difference really between two terms that we often hear: support plan and care plan. So to sort of try and understand which one is which and how they work together. So as an individual goes through the assessment process with My Aged Care, they start to put a support plan together. And that's why it's really important for people to accurately communicate their needs from their very first phone call to My Aged Care, because that starts to form the basis of this support plan. If people don't communicate properly about what's going on or demonstrate the needs, they'll potentially be assessed for less services than they need, or have a funding shortfall and not be able to access the services they need. Providers use that support plan put together by the assessor to get a bigger picture of what a client's needs might be. It doesn't mean that's what an individual has to have, especially because often we've been seeing these assessments have happened maybe 12 months ago. So obviously needs do change, but it does give a provider a really good indication of what a person's needs may be. And mentioning that, if you're seeking care for yourself, if you can provide that referral code to our team, we can access the support plan that was put together by the assessment team. It doesn't mean, if you give us that referral code, it doesn't mean that you've signed up with us or to the provider that you've given the referral code to. It just lets us see that support plan and get a much better idea of the level of support you require. So that's a support plan. From that, obviously, we can see the support plan and we can have a chat to you about what your needs and preferences are. Then we can build a care plan together. And obviously, as the individual receiving that care, you're our primary focus. You're at the center of any decisions. But you can also consent to people having input to that care plan. So it might be your family and your regular carers. It could be more formal organisations, maybe support workers, discharge planners if you're heading home from a stay in hospital, maybe your GP. So you're our main point of contact, but you can give consent for people to also provide information to give a really good picture of what's happening and how you want that care delivered. And that's the care plan is our roadmap to deliver the services in the way that you need them.
Yep, excellent. FlexiCare is a not-for-profit organisation which supports older people living in Brisbane's southern suburbs to live their best lives in their own homes and communities. FlexiCare don't have grand plans to be the biggest aged care provider. They want to be known for treating each one of their participants as an individual who they get to know well. They answer their phone calls personally when clients ring them. They give their clients easy access to a home care partner who can work with them to deliver the best mix of support possible. If you're in Brisbane South and want to know more, give their friendly team a call on 07 3422 8400 or check out their website flexi.org.au. So, in developing a care plan, is a person's health history taken into account? Is a registered nurse involved in developing the care plan?
Yes, we look at somebody's background, take into consideration their medical history, as I say, any recent hospital stays, how they're managing their medications to develop that care plan appropriately. And now, a registered nurse might not necessarily be involved in this process, but our care managers are trained to support with this through the information they're provided from the assessor's support plan. We can put that care plan together. We'll also liaise with any healthcare professionals involved, allied health or nursing staff.
Yeah. Fantastic. And how often should a person's care plan be reviewed, Kathryn?
At least every 12 months, but obviously sooner, and as people's needs fluctuate, then we'll address that care plan. It's really important that we stay on top of that.
Absolutely. So the person has been assigned their home care package and they've chosen Dovida. They've signed up with Dovida as their chosen home care package provider. How soon does their funding become available to use?
Okay, so an important point for people to remember is once you've been assessed, your package is hopefully approved, and then we're all waiting for that package to be assigned. People have 56 days from that package being assigned to take up that offer with a provider. If they go beyond the 56 days, they can apply for a one-off extension of 28 days. I know that you've spoken about this before on your podcast series, but just to remind people, once a client finds their provider and agrees a date for the package to start, funding will start on that date.
Yes.
So it could be that I'm meeting somebody in mid-March, but they decide they want things to start on the 1st of April. We can go out, we can complete all the paperwork and start putting that care plan together, and we will accept and start that package on the 1st of April. So funding starts to come in on that date.
Excellent. And in the scenario of a person moving from one provider to the next being Dovida in this instance, is there any interruption to funding or service provision during the transition?
No, we would make sure that we have that continuity of care. That's really important. So the first thing really when we're supporting clients to transition across is to check to see what their notice period may be with their existing provider. So it could be 14 days. So what we'll do then is work out when that's going to end. So say if their last day after 14 days was the 31st of March, we would be looking to put services in place on the 1st of April so that there's no gap in services.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to remember with home care packages is that clients might perhaps have surplus funds that have accumulated over the time they've had that home care package with that provider. And so it's quite complicated to explain, but basically we need to remember that the government has 70 days for the funding, the unspent funds, to be transitioned across to be available for the new provider. So if it is that you have accumulated some funds for a big purchase, maybe a lift and recline chair, then sometimes it would be worth staying with your current provider for that purchase if you're nearly there, and then once you've purchased that item out of those unspent funds, then transition across at that point. But again, I would encourage always talk to us, and we will help you through that process. In fact, sometimes providers might suggest to their clients that it's difficult to change providers, but we do this often and can offer a seamless transition and can support again with that understanding of how it all works to make sure that you don't have a gap in service and you're well supported.
Excellent. So good to clarify that, Kathryn, because what we often see in the conversations across social media is that people, they might be dissatisfied with their package provider and they want to move, but then they think that during that transition, that 70 days, which we know is only about the unspent funds, people think that relates to their monthly subsidy,
Yes.
monthly funding, and people go, well, I can't go without support for 7 days, so I'm not going to move to a new provider, which is completely incorrect. As you've just explained, you can finish services on the 31st of March with your other provider, and then on the 1st of April, your services will start with Dovida, but it's just the unspent funds that can take 70 days to move from the previous provider.
Yeah.
Over to
even as you say it, it sounds complex, but actually as we step it through with people, it's very simple. We communicate at every stage, so it's not a difficult thing to do at all.
It's not. And I can speak from experience, having been through this with my mum. Literally, there was no interruption to services from one day to the next.
Yeah, such a good point to make. Thank you.
So if your coordinators become aware or a family member reports that their loved one's needs have increased, what is Dovida's process of requesting a support plan review for an upgrade of their home care package?
Yep. So again, we've got that term again there, the support plan review. So remember, the support plan was the plan that was put together by the assessors. So when a person's needs change, that's what we're asking for. We need a review of that original support plan. And remember, funding is linked to that. So really important. So we review the person's requirements, the budget and the care plan. So we'll be looking to make sure, is there a surplus in place? Are there any unspent funds? Because if they were, there's not really much point asking for that support plan review. But if a client is using everything and possibly having to top up, then we've got a very good case to request a support plan review through My Aged Care. And again, the person's care manager will support them through that process. And if it's urgent, the care managers will advocate for an urgent referral as well. So again, we're watching to make sure we're watching how a person's care needs are impacting on their budget, and that's our job. That's what people are contributing towards out of their budget for that care management, and making sure that we're looking after them in that way.
Excellent. So, with supported home beginning in July of this year, are you fielding lots of questions from your current package recipients about the changes? And if so, what are they asking?
Well, strangely, as we sit here in mid-March, not yet. there still seems to be quite a low awareness of these changes that we've got coming up this year. And as I'm out and about doing my community presentations, again, not really a lot of concern yet, which is a little bit
kind of
concerning for
surprises
me.
me.
You know, I've been.
I mean, we're asking all the questions. That really surprises me,
Yeah,
Kathryn.
yeah, definitely. But then I'm not really seeing it in mainstream media either. So we haven't received it yet, which
Yeah.
is good in that it's given me time to try and digest the information that is available. But it is a little bit worried that we've got these big changes coming and we're not receiving the response from the community that I had expected. I think that it will have to get out into the mainstream media more as we approach July. And I am concerned that people will hear things and be worried. And that worries me.
Yes.
So if anyone's tuning in, wanting some clarification around that, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say what we know so far, and we certainly don't know everything. But for anyone on the Commonwealth Home Support Programme level of funding, the government have said there will be no changes for them yet. There's going to be no changes. What did they say? Not until no earlier.
No earlier than
That's right. Than 2027. Yeah. So they haven't got to worry too much. And then for people on home care packages, they've been currently receiving home care package funding, although there's a bit of a confusion there, which we'll move on to in a moment. But they've been promised they're no worse off. We've got this no worse off principle. So again, they shouldn't be too concerned either. They've been promised they can keep their surplus, which is a relief, because when rumours were coming of this change, that was something that I was concerned that people might.
Yeah, I had a query last week from a daughter who said, "Can I just check with you, Coral, in the retirement village that Mum lives in, they're all in panic stations saying that the government is going to be clawing back their funding in July." And it was around unspent funds. And I just went back and said, no, that's not going to happen at all. So these conversations, these misunderstandings are certainly out there. So great time to clarify that right now.
Yes, and thank you for doing this and giving us the opportunity to try and do that. So people can keep, if they've had a home care package and they've built up a surplus, they will be able to keep that. Another big change, rather than having the annual budget and being able to accumulate unspent funds year on year, really, we'll now be looking at quarterly budgets. And between each quarter, clients can't accumulate surpluses any more than 1,000. So you'll be able to take, if you're not using all your funds, which is another conversation in itself, because people really need to be doing that, then you won't be able to accumulate more than 1,000. So again, another reason to make sure that you're using what you've got. So can't accumulate surpluses more than $1,000 or 10% of your package. My brain can't deal with that, so I'm just sticking with 1,000. Oh, yeah. So this was the confusion for people with a home care package. And I'm really hoping that this cohort of people is small because, anyway, so for new support at home participants that were assessed after the 12th of September 2024, or for people that are sitting in that national priority queue of having been approved for home care package funding but haven't commenced with a provider yet, they will go across into support at home, and they are not, can I use the term, protected by that no worse off principle?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a fair word to use. They're not protected. They're not going to be no worse off. But I guess in having said no worse off, it doesn't mean they are going to be worse off, does it? It's such a difficult concept, this new co-contribution and funding arrangement, and what date were you assessed. Yeah, like I just said, that's a whole episode in itself. But anyway, I will let you get on with answering the question.
So yes, no, I think on the whole, that for us that are trying to make sense of this so that we can support people through it, there's a lot of confusion for us. But as
Yes.
far as word on the street, I haven't had too many questions yet. So yeah, watch this space. And I really hope I can do a better job of answering their questions.
Well, I think we're all kind of watching this space and watching each other's space. I follow a lot of sector commentators, and like you, I speak to a lot of people within the sector, and there's some detail there, but there's still a lot more that we're waiting for. So it is kind of tricky. I'm giving a presentation next week, and I know what I know at this point, but I can't really predict what's going to happen come the 1st of July. I mean, have a fairly good understanding, but it might change again as well. This is the thing. So yeah, very sort of fluid process I think we're going through in the coming months.
Yeah.
So let's just touch on a program that you mentioned, the Commonwealth Home Support Program, or CHSP. Why is it important to make the distinction between home care packages, support at home, and the Commonwealth Home Support Program? Because I can tell you right now, people out there use this terminology interchangeably and they get really confused about it. So we mentioned that the Commonwealth Home Support Program is essentially going to be unchanged until at the earliest July 2027. But yeah, if you could just touch on why it's important that people understand the difference between these programs.
Okay, so we know that it's going to be important for people on a home care package to understand what's happening because they will transition to the new program support at home this July 2025. But for those people, and I meet them every week, who they'll tell me, yes, I've got a home care package, but then I talk to them about the care that they're receiving, and I think, oh, hang on a minute, no, they don't have a home care package. They're actually their funding is under the Commonwealth Home Support Programme, so they may be unnecessarily concerned, because if your funding is through that Commonwealth Home Support Programme, CHSP, or some people even call it CHISP, just to make I think you call it CHISP, so I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's all the same. I don't know why that is, but there you go. It's all the same thing. So Commonwealth Home Support, CHISP or CHSP is all the same, and that's your entry level of care. And when I'm talking to somebody, I wonder if you agree, Coral, I can work out pretty much with a couple of questions.
I know what you're going to say.
Usually, are you CHSP? So I'll ask, what level of service are you receiving? And I would say it's fair to say most people will say, oh, well, I get an hour and a half a fortnight of cleaning. And I contribute towards the cost of that, and it can be something in the realm of, say, $15 an hour, and providers are different, so don't quote me on that. But if you're contributing, if you're getting a monthly statement of around paying about $15 or $20 an hour towards an hour and a half of cleaning a fortnight,
yes,
bet your bottom dollar your funding is CHSP and not a home care package. So like we've said already, you haven't got to worry yet. So eventually the government are talking about clients receiving CHSP that will also come under the umbrella of support at home. But thankfully we haven't got to worry about that yet. We've just got to deal with clients that are home care package either receiving or who are in that national priority queue. And so that's important because they're the people that we'll be supporting through. Then obviously come July, anybody entering that system will be straight away into support at home. And hopefully the conversations will be a little bit more simple.
We hope so. So for all your current home care package clients, how are you disseminating information about support at home? Do you have a regular newsletter? Or I know you're out there giving presentations in the community, but what about all your clients that are currently receiving Dovida support?
Yeah, we do newsletters. We do hard copy and email newsletters. I guess thankfully I'm not involved in this, but we'll be writing out proper letters as well to explain the changes.
Yeah.
I've been involved in organising some training for our caregivers, because remember, they're the people who have the relationship with our clients. So we want to make sure that they're across all of these changes as well, because then they'll be having a conversation with the clients and their families around this too. So again, it's all centres around excellent communication. So at least, and change is scary. It's scary for everybody. So we just want to make sure we're communicating in lots of different ways as much as we can to try and allay people's fears as much as we can.
That's fantastic, Kathryn. I think the point that you highlighted about training your caregivers as well is fantastic, because, you know, when they go in on a Monday morning to help to pick up Mrs. Smith to take her for her grocery shopping, they're going to be the ones probably that Mrs. Smith will ask first, because maybe she's been to church the day before on Sunday and she heard someone say this. She'll ask her caregiver. And, you know, that your caregivers can provide reassurance and give her that information, I think is wonderful. Because they can certainly go to their care manager, but that involves a phone call later in the day, and they might forget about it, or they might not feel like doing it, or whatever. So that your clients will have that information directly from the caregivers, I think it's really excellent. There's so much confusion within the community about the in-home aged care programs now, let alone moving towards supported home in less than 3 months. What are some of the other key points you want to mention, Kathryn, to clarify for people if they're eligible for aged care support at home and what they should do to progress that?
Okay, so I think, again, just to remind people that the assessment process is needs-based, which we touched on earlier. So if you have a need for support, whether it's help with your lawn, or because if you drop your medication and you can't bend down to pick it up, that's a need, and then you are able to contact My Aged Care and explain your need, and hopefully get an assessment to lead to some level of funding to put the right level of care in place. I always encourage people, if they are living with a partner and perhaps relying on that partner for support, but maybe that partner needs some support, to both go through that process. So I have met people, or I often meet people, who one of the pair has been through the assessment process and they've had some care put in place from that funding. And of course, they're both relying on it because they both enjoy having their lawn is mowed and it's safe.
Yes.
But that care or that funding is attached to that individual who went through the assessment process. And should they end up perhaps having to go into hospital, then the funding has to stop. So then suddenly you've got these services that have stopped. And then perhaps if this has been in place for years, the partner's left thinking, well, what's happened there? We haven't got this support, or I haven't got this support in place. And it's a long process to then go through that assessment. So just be aware to make sure, if you have a need, that you are assessed individually and not be left vulnerable. Another top tip that I know that you're a fan of, encouraging people to set up a representative with My Aged Care as well. So it's easy to do. I've written down here, all you need is your Medicare card and a cup of tea, because sometimes this does take a while. So give them a call one day when you've got some time to spare, because they need to go through the process with your representative as well. So you both need to be present, and they need to ask both of you for your consent to be that representative and for you that representative, but definitely worth spending that time to do that. And a reminder, if I can, of the My Aged Care telephone number so that you can do that. You can give them a call on 1800 200 422.
Fantastic. Great points, Kathryn. Thanks for raising those. So look, we've covered a lot of ground today, and it's been great to hear how Dovida supports clients with their home care packages. Kathryn is coming back next week to continue chatting with me, and this time we're going to take a little bit more of a closer look at support at home, which is coming in July. So, Kathryn, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me today. It's really been great chatting with you again. And listeners, until next week, take care.
Thank you so much.
Hey Care community, thanks for listening to this episode. So you never miss a show, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. If you'd like to know more about what we do, head to our website, cmeacn.com.au.